You know, a government's budget isn't just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet. It's a story. It tells you what that government truly values, what really matters to them. Today, we're digging into one of those stories, a story about a massive government expenditure and the really tough questions it brings up about priorities. Let's get into it.
This right here, this is the question at the very heart of our explainer today. It sets up a huge paradox, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got this enormous pile of cash made available for one specific reason, and on the other, you hear this constant claim of financial constraints when it comes to fixing big, long-term problems. So let's start with the big number itself. In December 2025, the Finance Department released a truly staggering 1,602.9 crore rupees. Just let that number sink in for a minute. That is a massive amount of money, no matter how you slice it.
And here's some really important context. This wasn't just your typical end-of-year spending. Nope, that huge number was nearly a 31% increase over what was spent in December of the previous year. So this tells us it was a very deliberate, very significant, and pretty unusual move.
Okay, so the big question is, where did all that cash actually go? A number this big really deserves a closer look, so let's break it down and follow the money to see exactly how it was carved up.
Right, first up, a huge chunk of it, over 348 crore rupees, went to pay out advanced salaries. We're talking about more than 50,000 government employees getting their money ahead of schedule.
And it wasn't just for current staff. Another 93.4 crore rupees were released as advanced pensions for over 30,000 pensioners, so they got their cash early too.
This chart really helps put it all into perspective. See those purple and yellow chunks? That's the advance pay and pensions we just talked about. A pretty big piece of the pie. But look at that huge green section. Over 664 crore went to different government departments for things like rural development and power. Then you've got smaller but still pretty big slices for social programs and worker wages.
And the official reason for this giant, fast-tracked release of funds? Well, the government stated it was to help support Christmas festivities. Get money into people's hands so they could spend it during the holidays. Okay, fair enough. But what about everything else?
So now we're going to flip the script a little. We've talked about where the money went. Now let's talk about where it didn't go. Because this is where the story gets really complicated. While one area was getting this massive cash injection, other absolutely critical areas have been left waiting for years.
And this is where that paradox we mentioned earlier just becomes crystal clear. On one side of the scale, you have 1,602.9 crore rupees for festive support. And on the other side, a laundry list of essential projects that are supposedly stuck because of, you guessed it, financial constraints.
And let's get specific, because these aren't small things. Take the Greater Shillong Water Supply Scheme. It's a vital project for clean water that's been delayed for more than 4 years. It needs about 500 crore to finish. Then there's waste management. A facility is needed to deal with the fact that up to 98% of waste goes untreated. That's about 200 crore. And the annual budget for drug rehabilitation. It's described as just meager, even though there's a growing crisis.
Okay, this bar chart, wow. It honestly tells you everything you need to know. Look at that massive bar on the left. That's the one-time December payout. Now, look at that tiny little sliver on the right. That is the entire annual budget for drug rehabilitation. The source material actually crunched the numbers and found that for every 1 crore rupee spent in December, only about 3 paise went to this critical social service. That's just wild.
So what are we supposed to make of all this? What's the real takeaway here? Well, the analysis argues that this isn't really about a lack of money at all. It's about something else entirely.
And there it is. That's a core argument. The simple fact that the government could find over 1,600 crore rupees in 1 month proves that the money is there. The real issue, according to this analysis, is about choices. It's about what the government chooses to spend its money on.
So, based on that spending, what does the priority list actually look like? Well, the analysis suggests it's something like this. Number 1, at the very top, is keeping cash flowing to employees and pensioners. Number 2 is generating political goodwill during a big holiday season. And then way down at the bottom is everything else. The long-term fixes for basic services like water, waste, and social reform.
All right, so what do we do with all this information? The analysis doesn't just lay out the problem. It actually suggests a path forward for us as citizens by framing it as a series of really important questions we should all be asking.
Here are some concrete, real-world steps for anyone who wants to dig in. First, go look up the annual budgets for water, waste, and drug rehab and just compare them to that 1,600 crore figure.
Second, use the Right to Information Act, an RTI, to find out if these advance payments are a regular budgeted thing. And third, directly ask public officials to explain these spending choices. These are the kinds of questions that really hold power to account.
And that brings us to the final, incredibly powerful question that this entire explainer has been building up to. It's a direct challenge. It changes the conversation from "we can't afford it" to "why don't we choose to afford it?" It's all about priorities, and it's a question that deserves an answer. Now it's your turn to ask it. Thanks for joining us.